Yeah, I'm getting stronger.
I'm excited to be able to partner with you. For real. I love this. I love this.
So we can get stronger.
Become aware of your thoughts. To be a fit individual, you have to become aware of what you're thinking on a daily basis.
Weird. It sounds weird.
It sounds crazy, but
Makes me really happy to hear that. Keep strengthening. I wrote something the other day. Can I share it with you real quick? I just want to tell you something. Okay, so I was writing a couple of things and just like reflecting as we're coming into the new year, and this is what I wrote down. I never realized how much a healed heart can pave the way to allow for the optimal amount of productive growth. It's kind of like how when the land is tilled and the soil is prepared properly, it can receive a seed and soak up the rain and then grow into something nourishing and beautiful. I think of the heart in the same way. After allowing your heart to efficiently heal, you can accept a planted seed and then soak up the blessings and finally allow something beautiful to grow and flourish. But not putting in the work and not allowing for that healing literally does the opposite. It repels the blessings, it hinders growth, and it's not opened up to accept any new opportunities. So as we're like heading into this new year, just in reflecting on all of that, I realized that there are so many people that really had like an unimaginable amount of hurt in the last year. And then there are other people that had, different things that they've experienced with hurt that might be from decades ago, but they still are dealing with unforgiveness or, different things that they need to heal from, right? And that's when I started thinking like, it is so important. Everyone writes down these resolutions and says like, okay, this is what, I want to do going into this new year. And I don't think that a lot of people sit and make healing more of a priority than making a resolution. I want to get fit. I want to do, but who writes like, I want to get healed and puts that effort in? So I just was kind of going through that. And I wanted to see your thoughts on that aspect. Like, why do you think it might be really important to start emphasizing healing before we go into this new year?
well, one of the main reasons you want to go into the new year healed and whole, and make that probably one of your top resolutions, is because people want to achieve their best in the new year, right? They're looking at what they didn't achieve in the year past, and they're making all these resolutions because they want to be better. Going into the new year unhealed with trauma and unhealthy is like carrying baggage.
Yeah.
Right? So you're dragging all this baggage into the new year. And so how can you expect to be optimal and get your best results when you're bringing stuff from the past into the new? So making the healing process a big part of your resolution and making sure that you end the year as healthy as possible and whole as possible should be, one of our main things that anybody does.
It's huge. And I feel like that was my whole point, was saying like, when you can finally do that, like you're talking about the baggage thing, imagine actually unpacking like layer after layer. Like you literally have to do that when you come home, which we actually don't do very well at all.
Oh,
when we come home from vacations, we literally we'll pack up all of our stuff to go away. And then when we come home, it just sits like, I don't even think we like go in the suitcase. It's almost like the clothes don't exist anymore. Because it takes forever for us to actually unpack it. And like literally now that I'm thinking about it, there really is some of that like in my real life that probably needs to be unpacked. But imagine if we actually did it as soon as we got home and we were able to like put everything where it goes. And then now you have an empty bag, right? That's not heavy, that you don't have to drag along with you. And I feel like that's really important because you can fill that empty suitcase with other things. And that's what I was talking about, the blessing aspect. And that's something that just for me is like thinking about the new year that's coming. We don't know what's ahead. We don't know what we're able to receive or what's coming from that. Right. But at the same time, there is something coming, and some of them can be incredible amount of blessings, or we can go in very negative and carrying all of those things. So I just was trying to see like your thoughts on that aspect of being able to be in a place where we are healed and we are whole, and what are the great things that could possibly come out of healing? Because healing is scary. That crap is scary. Like thinking about everything that you might have to peel, the layers back that you might have to touch and go through as you're healing. Somebody said like, I didn't know that it was going to hurt this much to heal. That I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. Because you just went through all the hurt. Now you have to relive it to be able to heal from it.
Well, a good way to think about it is to think about like when you have a physical injury. If you can equate emotional, spiritual, or mental healing to the same way that you equate it to a physical wound. Like if you break your leg, there's going to be pain in the healing process.
Yeah.
right? So a lot of people think, oh, just because it's emotional or mental, that it's not a process. So looking at emotional, mental, or even spiritual healing as, okay, this may take some time. It's going to be a process. Like when you start to recover, when you're going through therapy, like if you break your leg, you're going to go through a little bit of therapy because that cast is going to make you immobile for a minute. You're not going to be able to move the same way. So think of the healing in your mental the same way, or your emotions the same way. Is that, okay, there's something not right. I need to get it fixed, or I need to fix it. I need to work on it. And there's going to be the process of going through the pain to get to the purpose or get to the healing part.
So I love this analogy just in general of the breaking and the healing thing, because I'm sitting here thinking, like, for both of us, so the idea of going off of that same concept of the idea of you're breaking your leg, and okay, you have to heal if you want to get back in the game. And it's going to be a process to get back. You might have some scars that are left over, but it is possible for you to get back in the game. Is it possible for you to be able to be just as good as you were? Is it possible to be better than you were once you're healed? So then when I think about our lives, like, we both were married before. We both had very long relationships in the past, right? Like decades of a marriage where you really thought, like, you went into the marriage just like I did, thinking it was going to be forever, because that's what marriage is. Like, you think you're going to be with the person forever. So there's some healing that had to be done before we could get back into the game. And that was not easy at all. Do you think that the healing that you were able to put in before we met needed to happen and kind of helped for where we are now? Or do you feel like we're kind of healing, I guess, in the marriage? Does that make sense?
Well, for me, and I think like a lot of people, I didn't even know I needed to be healed, right? I knew there were some things wrong, but they were only the things that I was aware of. So I was, kind of slowly working on some of the things that I thought would make me better. What I believe is when you get into any relationship, that relationship is going to show you what you need to be healed, right? So you don't even know sometimes going into a new relationship where the trauma is, or where you actually need to, go through that process of redevelopment, that healing process, because each person is going to bring different things out of you. In each stage of your life, there's levels to it, right? So when you were 20 years old, there was a 20-year-old mentality. There was only a level of experience that you had at 20. But at 30, even though you were going through a relationship, you have different experiences now. And so those experiences are going to also affect the trauma, the pain, and then how you heal, right? So I think that each relationship is going to teach you in it. Just like I believe, I try to, equate things to like the physical, breaking a leg, like a business, right? A lot of people are afraid to get into business because they don't know the thing. Well, when you get into it, it teaches you it, right? It teaches you how to do the thing by being in it. So a relationship is going to teach you
how to be in a relationship.
How to be in a relationship.
By being in that relationship.
By being in it, exactly.
I mean, at least that's the hope, is to be able to do that. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on being able to navigate as a couple through that healing process? Because you can't expect that you're already going to be healed when you're coming into these relationships, like any relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a partnership, whatever that looks like. So what are your thoughts on being able to navigate together? Like, are we doing that, in your opinion, as far as navigating through healing together while we're in the relationship?
Let me go to the first part. I think that the first part of the question, I believe you were asking, is I would say people do need to do some work before they into the relationship.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the part that I was not good at. If I wanted something or felt that this is where I should be, I would enter into it not having done all the work on myself, right? And so I realized in this relationship that I needed to do a lot of work. And
why did you realize that in this relationship?
Because you had different standards, you had different personality traits, you had different characteristics that made me have to bring out different characteristics in myself, or traits that I thought I was strong in, I wasn't as strong as I thought I was.
So why didn't you do that before?
Because I didn't know. I didn't know to do it. I didn't know I needed to do it. It's like think of it like, I use all these analogies. Think of it like a basketball player that plays for one team. He's been playing with that team for years. There's a philosophy, there's a scheme, there's a way the coach, the front office works. right? And then he gets traded to a whole nother team. He can't take that philosophy from the old team to the new team because there's a different coach, different front office, different players, right? He might have a different role, a different responsibility.
I get it, yeah.
Right. So in our relationship, I had different roles and different responsibilities that I didn't have before. So I can't take all of those things that I had from the last into the new, even though some of those experiences will apply.
That's beautiful, because that basically is saying that God puts people in your life to help you through the journey, through the healing process, because there's different people at different times that help you to realize, if you're open, because you got to be open, if you're open to being able to see yourself, that, in my opinion, that's half of healing, is being open to see that you need to be healed, and even to be open to recognize that some of the healing is because of you. How about that? Like, you're the one that hurt you.
Yeah. I mean, well, some of it is, that's one of the principles. In healing, there has to be forgiveness, right? And so most people want to forgive the person that hurt them, but they haven't forgiven themselves for either their part or for being taken advantage of. I've had guilt of, it was hard for me to heal from certain things because I couldn't get over the fact that I allowed myself to do certain things in a relationship. And so I was really looking down on me. I was mad at me. And so I allowed the wound to fester and to grow into something bigger. And it really could have been, healed a long time ago, but I didn't want to confront it because I didn't want to forgive myself first.
What did you have to forgive me for this year? Like, is there anything you can think of that you had to forgive me for?
Forgive you for? Yeah, of course.
Well.
I would say forgiving you for something this year. Part of it was I needed to get over something you had done 3 years ago.
Oh my.
Right. And so, thinking now, like, why did I hold on to this thing for so long, right? Well, some of it is because you don't think you're holding on to it, but we have this thing called triggers.
Yeah.
Right. And so a word, just like you have my wife has a great sense of smell, right? And so.
Unfortunately.
So, and a lot of women do, right? So a smell can trigger you and take you back to a moment, whether it was good, bad, and different. And so we all have triggers. So there could have been something that happened when we were driving down the street and we got into a disagreement on this block in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And, we worked through it. But I happened to be driving down that street one day and I get triggered. And so if I don't deal with it in that moment, then I carry that for the next hour, 3 hours,
or
6
3
hours.
years.
Right. Or carry it into the house and not dealing with it. Now you're going to allow something to grow that was already smashed down.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of times I think it's just a trigger. People want to let go of the stuff, but some wounds just take longer to heal than others.
That's true. And I do remember, so my hubby has this thing. I mean, every man has this thing, but yours is a little different because I just didn't know you for all of those years that, we weren't together. So for respect, a certain level of respect is everything to him, everything. And I thought that I was pretty respectful because I don't curse you out. I don't, right? I don't curse you out. I don't think I curse you out. I don't curse him out. I'm not outrightly, blatantly disrespectful to, around people or any of that. I feel like I'm nice. Let's say that. I'm nice. I'm polite. That's what I would think respect is. But there's a certain level of respect that you require based off of how you were raised. And that was consistent issues when we first met several years back, where I would do things that he just outrightly thought was so disrespectful. And to me, I'm like, I don't understand. How is that disrespectful? So it was a part of me learning what you needed for respect, because I feel like respect is different. So there are things that are universal in that genre, but there's certain things that you specifically require for yourself that I needed to learn how to respect you. And then I feel like as we did that, the healing made it a little bit easier from the past. Because one thing I always would ask is I know you're still upset about this, but has it happened recently? I don't know. Did that ever help you? Because I would say it so much. Think about it right now. Am I being disrespectful right now? Did I learn from that? Have you seen any progress or growth? And then really trying to recognize the progress to know that we're getting towards a place of full healing. We're down that path. We're headed down that path.
Well, I want to say this. Like, I believe that me and a lot of men, we don't even know how to start really healing.
Yeah.
Right? Where I'm from, you don't really talk about your issues. You don't talk about your problems. You know what I mean? There's no vulnerability, right? And so this year, that word has been heavy.
Yeah, big
about being vulnerable, right? And so I didn't know how to be vulnerable. The only person I knew to be vulnerable with was my mom growing up as a kid. That's the only place I could go that I felt safe, that no matter what I'm bringing to the table, no matter the circumstance, situation, there is no outward judgment to me, right? She may be judging me inwardly.
That's your mama. She'll always love you. Right? Yeah.
And so for most guys, that's it.
Yeah.
Some guys, I didn't grow up with a dad in the house, you know what I'm saying? So some guys have a mom and a dad that they can go to like that, or maybe a friend here and there. But where I'm from, vulnerability was weakness, and you're gonna get treated like prey. So, it was therapy. No, you
medicate.
Get over it.
Literally self-medicate.
So
yeah.
When you get into a relationship like this, and someone's saying you got to be move past honesty, to being transparent and vulnerable, you're like, that's so foreign. I've never even been down that road. So I had to learn that it's safe to even drive down that road, right? Before, I never even would consider making that turn to go down that street. I was always just power through it, sweep it under the rug, get over it.
So you're saying you're learning this now?
I'm just learning it, yeah. I mean, I've learned it. I knew it, but applying it. Yeah. This is the first time in my life.
And I get to be your target practice, daily practice. I mean, I appreciate it. I like the fact that we're able to do that back and forth for each other, to be honest, because I feel like, remember we had this thing when we first met, because I was making so many silly mistakes. Like, I was just coming into a relationship with a brand new person that I just really wanted to make it work. I'm like, I don't want any more failures. And so I remember every time something would happen that would like upset you or hurt you, or it would be disrespectful to you or whatever that was, I was telling you like, I want to buy into these. Can you just buy into my 3 thought process, like these 3 concepts? Because if you can remember that I love you, I don't want to hurt you, and I want what's best for you. Those 3 things. If you can just remember those 3 things, then anything I do, whatever it is that happens, it wasn't intentional. So then we can kind of remove the internal.
Yeah, I couldn't get with
that. It was really hard for you. You're like, no, because it doesn't matter what the intention is. Like, if you shot somebody, the person's still dead. It doesn't matter if you intended to shoot them or not. Like, it doesn't matter if you're hard.
To me, it's a scapegoat, right? Where, again, we grew up different, right? And so there's consequences.
Yeah, so there's consequences.
A lot of women don't want the consequences immediate. And guys, we want swift justice, right? So I want this thing to be figured out now, and let's, keep it moving. So when you would say, oh, it wasn't intentional or whatever, to me, that's an excuse like, oh, it's going to happen again then, because you're giving yourself an out. I want, where I'm from, if you do something wrong too many times, you're going to get engaged.
Yes,
right?
I understand.
There's going to be issues. And so that's where I'm like, okay, nobody's perfect, right? And when you're in a relationship, the person is showing you become a mirror. And so you realize, man, there's a lot of healing that I need that has to go on. Yeah. But is this the person I can trust?
Yeah, to go through that with together. That's what I was saying.
Because when you met me, they always say, however they meet you,
it's
how you got to be the whole time. So now if you meet me, I'm this thorough, I seem strong, I'm putting my good foot forward. Then 2 months later, I'm acting like I can't get through this. I'm struggling. Everything bothers me. So there has to be that bridge, right? And that's where a lot of times couples mess up. They don't build a bridge that allows you to start taking steps to bridge the gap between past relationships and hurts and this new situation, right? Because we all been trained by somebody. People don't want to admit it. A lot of women don't want to admit you've been trained. Listen, the dude you was with trained you. Good, bad, and different. The female that the guy was with trained her. So we have to get over this, you're not training me. Yeah, I'm training you.
Whether it's good or bad,
right,
you're being trained.
But in a new relationship, my goal is to train you. Yeah. And then your goal should be, okay, I want to train you to my needs, my desires, my wants, right? That's what becoming one is. And then we learn a system together, right? So one of the hardest things to do is to unlearn and learn at the same time, right? So I had to unlearn what I did in other relationships. You had to unlearn what you did in other relationships. And we have to learn
how to do it together.
On-the-job training.
On-the-job training. That's a good one.
You know what I'm saying? So
yes.
people just don't want to, come to the fact that you're going to be trained.
That's real. That's real. This is the thing. You said one of the hardest things to do is unlearn. I think another really hard thing to do is to forgive, especially when the person didn't apologize or even ask for forgiveness. Now, you're really good about asking for forgiveness, which I appreciate. When you recognize things, it might take you 5 days to come say it, but you'll ask for forgiveness. But there's a difference. I just realized this the other day, and I meant to talk to you about it, but why not? We're here, right? We can work out our stuff on camera. So you said to me, I raised my voice to you. No, you didn't. You said, forgive me for raising my voice to you the other day. And I was so upset the other day, whatever the days before that, and what had occurred, because I had just asked a simple question. I don't even remember what the topic was right this second, but I asked a simple question and it triggered something, and you just went off. And you were really upset about it. And then I backed up. I was like, okay, I'm just the God. You got to work out how I can ask these questions where I can get a favorable result. Later on, I think you noticed right away, like, oh, I shouldn't have did that. And you kind of changed your demeanor a little bit. And I saw you even not just work on trying to be like much more gentle and polite, but even like putting in more time that you were spending with God and the word and all that stuff. And then later you came to me, and this is what the word does, right? It softens your heart so that you can hear clearer, you can recognize yourself, and you can go and ask for forgiveness. So you came and you said, I want to ask you to forgive me, or please forgive me for raising my voice. And I was like, okay, I forgive you. And I waited a second because I wanted to see if anything else was coming after that. And then I realized like I was still upset. And it wasn't just because, you asked me to forgive you, right? But I was still upset. I'm like, why am I still upset about this? And in my head, it was because you didn't apologize. You just said, forget. It's almost, to me, when you tell someone to forgive you, it's a command. Forgive me for doing this. Forgive me for doing that. But there was another part to it where if you were to say, I apologize because I did A, B, and C. So you recognize what you did. But
hold on, did I say, will you forgive me or can you forgive me? I didn't put anything in front of the forgive?
Verbatim, forgive me for raising my voice. That's why I was waiting for a conversation that was going to come. Because the whole thing, that's what it was. The whole thing was I wanted to have a conversation with you. And that's what we were even fussing about. And so I realized that afterwards, I was like, wow, but you know what? Part of the healing process to not allow bitterness to set in, to not allow these wounds to fester and get infected where they affect other things, I have to be open and willing to say, he didn't apologize, but I'm going to forgive anyway, and I'm going to help heal anyway. I'm going to love anyway. I'm going to, step out and do some of that anyway. And that's. Do you remember this whole thing?
Probably what was happening was, if I'm thinking back, I knew that was a direction to start bringing us back together, but I probably wasn't in the total right space either.
Yeah.
So I said, forgive me.
Yeah.
To break the ice, to start the dialogue again, and to make myself accountable, not only to you, but to God. So by me saying, forgive me, that means I had to either have already asked, or I got to go right after and ask for forgiveness from God, right? So I believe that was, you remember the time when we went to, we were doing the mask situation, and the guy had, 30,000 masks, and he wasn't trying to give them to us.
Yes.
And I got so angry.
Yes.
And I had to hit my chest and say, Jesus.
Loud, right, like a crazy man.
But I needed
just to remind yourself that you love Jesus.
But I needed to, so that was me saying, okay, I need to just break out of this, because if I don't, I'm going to go deeper down this hole, and we may not, something that was small may become something that's really, really big.
Yeah.
And what was small to me may have been really bigger, much bigger to you. So that was what I was doing.
So that was my question. That was you doing that. But my question is literally, how can you help a person to navigate through forgiveness, to heal, even if the person didn't apologize? That's a big reason why people don't heal.
So the first thing is, whether the person asks for forgiveness or not, you're going through trauma because of whatever happened, whether it was the other person's fault or both of you fault or it was your fault, whatever. You were affected. And so if you're waiting for that person to come back to you and they never come back to you, that means you're carrying that wound. Yeah. Right. And
that luggage, that baggage.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why they have a thing, a kit, safety kit where you can patch yourself up. Right. So this is where you have to take a moment and say, whether the other person comes back or not, I want to be patched up. I want to be whole again. I don't want to. It's like anger, right? When somebody makes you angry and you walk away with it, you're dealing with all of that, carrying all that into everything else that you're doing, right? So why would you carry something that I put on you to our daughter or to our son or to your mom, right?
That's huge.
Right. So you want to say, okay, I'm not going to give that thing that much power that I have to carry it all the time. And if that person doesn't come back to me, that means you're going to carry it for the rest of your life. Yeah. That means you've internalized it so much that that person, that thing, that circumstance or situation has so much, it's gripped you now. It's a stronghold. It's a stronghold.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it has become a stronghold that it has gripped you, and you've given your initiative to somebody else. And so that's why I would say that no matter what the other person does, that you have to be willing to forgive yourself, forgive them, and put the work in so that you can get beyond it, because that's what Christ asks of us.
And that's when you can receive your blessing. So thank you so much. I'm so thankful that we even had that conversation, honestly. And this is the thing, guys, we are coming up on a new year. There's 12 months that we have in this year to receive blessings, to have incredible opportunities find us. And it's our responsibility to be able to be available and accessible and just empty of all the negativity to be able to receive that positivity. So I just want to encourage all of those of you that are watching, that are sitting in with us, to really put the work in. Don't just try, but put the work in. Put the work in to try and to really make a decision to change and to heal, whatever that looks like, whether someone apologized or whether they didn't. You do your job and you start that healing process so that when you come into this new year, you can receive everything that God has for you. Keep strengthening.
Yeah, I'm getting stronger.